When you're thinking about moving to the Hudson Valley, you're probably thinking about moving to a super cute town with a lot of charm, a lot of character, has beautiful scenery. Maybe it's on the river, maybe it has mountain views, a quaint little main street, great bakery, coffee shops, little restaurants. Maybe just blows you away when you get down to the river. And maybe you're looking for something with outdoor adventure, somewhere you can go outside, spend some time hiking, kayaking, spending time just walking around in nature and being in the beauty of a cute town in the Hudson Valley. So if that's what you're looking for, I want to talk to you today about Cold Spring, New York. So Cold Spring, New York is just south of Beacon. If you live in New York City and you're thinking about moving up to the Hudson Valley, or if you live outside of the area and you're exploring Hudson Valley towns to move to, Cold Spring's not a very large town. It's very small. It's very small Main Street. But it's super duper cute, super quaint, and very charming. And I definitely think it's worth exploring. So one of the things that I personally love about Cold Spring is, I'm just gonna plug my favorite coffee shop is a Cold Spring Coffee House. It is delicious. They have really good drinks. They have really good pastries, and it's right on Main Street. They have a nice little outdoor area. So I'm always heading down to Cold Spring to go there. The other thing I love about Cold Spring is as you're driving down Route 9 from Beacon into Cold Spring, it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's so scenic, so pretty. You go past Breakneck, and that's where a lot of people get off and go hiking. So it's got a lot of really pretty things to see. Storm King Mountain is on the other side of the river, and then West Point's just on the other side. It's just not too far from, and it's very small, like I said. So it used to be like just a very small, quaint little town. And mostly the locals spent time there. But over the past few years, especially since COVID, a lot of people have been coming up on the train just to get out of the city for the weekend. And Cold Spring is one of the spots that people like to stop and get off the train, walk, go under the tunnel and come up through Main Street, just walk around Main Street, because it's just so pretty. And the houses are charming. There's a lot of older Victorian style houses. There's some apartments, but compared to Beacon, like Cold Spring is maybe 1/5 the size. So it's really it's pretty small. So there's not a lot of housing inventory. So in Cold Spring, if you're looking at housing, it definitely is more expensive. One of the pros of Cold Spring is the proximity to New York City. So you can take the train from Grand Central Station, come up the river, come up the Hudson Valley, come up the MTA line, and get off at the Cold Spring stop. Cold Spring is, because it's very small, it's a very tight-knit community, especially if you own a shop on Main Street, or you're in real estate, or you have a business there. Everybody kind of knows everybody. Now, the other thing about it is because it's so small and it is kind of limited to the Main Street area as far as business goes, there's not a lot of opportunity to come in and find jobs. You'll have to definitely have a job probably outside of the area, work remotely, or commute down to New York City. If you're moving up here to work in Cold Spring, you're not going to find a job probably that will pay you enough money to pay your mortgage or your rent, because Cold Spring is pretty expensive. So you'll need to be working in like White Plains or Peekskill or New York City, or across the river somewhere else, or something like that. So that's one thing to consider when thinking about Cold Spring. But some of the other cons are that it's just expensive. There's a high cost of living. Real estate is more expensive in Cold Spring than in Beacon. I think because there's a limited supply in Cold Spring. So, it's a supply and demand kind of thing. So with fewer houses available, then house prices go up. They do have multifamily properties there, and an agent on that team, sold a property this summer to an investor who was buying a multifamily. So there's an opportunity perhaps to buy a multifamily. There's opportunity to buy older houses and renovate them, fix them up, and put them back on the market, or buy a fixer-upper, live in it yourself, and then, bring it up to where you want it to be. But there's just not a lot of housing, so it's going to be more expensive. And when I mean more expensive, it could be $100,000 to $200,000 more expensive than Beacon. So my other video about Newburgh, I mentioned that Newburgh is like a couple $100,000 less than Beacon. Now Cold Spring's going to be a lot more expensive than Beacon. And it's just also, again, it's compact. It's like a very compact space. You have the river, then you have like the mountain, and you have like the hilly terrain. You have like a lot of houses around the main street, but they're all kind of tight and compact. So it's a very compact area. So you're not getting a ton of new houses going in, or a ton of investment in apartments and stuff like that. Be prepared to pay kind of higher prices when you look to buy a house in Cold Spring. One of the things about moving up to the Hudson Valley is the weather's different. Now, I will have to say that the weather, it hasn't been snowing as much and when we do get a snowfall, it's not as bad. So you don't really have to worry about a ton of snow moving up to the Hudson Valley, whether you're in Cold Spring, Beacon, Newburgh, New Paltz, or wherever. Rain, you probably have more wet roads from rain than you'll actually have wet roads or slick roads from ice and snow. So you don't really have to worry too much as long as you have a car with like all-terrain tires, as long as you don't live up on the mountain or something like that, like in Garrison, then you're probably good with just, your regular car. All right, so I covered a few things about Cold Spring. So Cold Spring and Nelsonville is the other part of it, like Cold Spring, Nelsonville, and then there's Garrison further down the road. So all these these communities are all, in my opinion, kind of part of each other. Garrison's is different than Cold Spring. Garrison has its own little center, its own little train station, but Cold Spring, Garrison, Nelsonville, you're looking at like really small little population, not a lot of population density. There's a lot of really beautiful nature, beautiful houses, Victorian houses, some updated, newer homes, but really not that many. So you're kind of just looking at limited real estate. So I don't think I've made Cold Spring sound that exciting from my conversation today on the video. Just because Cold Spring's really small, but I do think that it's kind of exclusive. It's got a higher price point. It's really neat. Oh, one of the things I didn't mention is I don't recommend buying down the closer you get to the river in Cold Spring because it floods, and it will flood. Like there have been floods and some of those townhomes have flooded. Some of the really cute houses right by the water flooded, the hotels, restaurants, all that kind of stuff. So once you get under the train, you go down through the train track thing and you come back up, like you're on the other side, the river side of the railroad track. And what happens is the water, when high tide and then full moon and stuff like that, and a big rain comes all at once, you're looking at a lot of water that makes its way up and over the street down at the bottom right by the river, and it makes its way into the houses. So you're really putting your money at risk when you buy a house that's going to get flooded. And also even a friend of mine, a guy on my team, he's got video of water rushing down Main Street on the uphill side. The water was flowing down and they're just like flowing like a river. So some of those houses on that side do get wet. So I would say if you're looking at buying in Cold Spring, we need to look at where the house is situated. Is it on the downhill slope, on the downhill side of the street? Is it at the bottom of Main Street on the other side, closer to the water? Don't fall in love with a property if you see it on Zillow. Let's talk about the property and look at where the lay of the land is, just to make sure you're not going to make a bad investment, to make sure that you buy a house that is a good investment for you and your family, if you have a family, or just yourself, or whatever you're buying your house for. If you're thinking about moving to Cold Spring and you're wondering if it's a good place for you, give me a call. I'd be happy to talk to you about Cold Spring, New York, and all the pros and the cons of moving there. Carlin Felder with the Hudson Upstate team at eXp Realty. I'm happy to work with you and talk to you and get the ball rolling about moving to the Hudson Valley and Cold Spring if that's where you want to live. Reach out and give me a call, and I'm here to help. Also, like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.